reading from the book of Job. Job spoke, saying, "Is not man's life on earth a drudgery? Are not his days those of hirelings? He is a slave who longs for the shade, a hireling who waits for his wages. So I have been assigned months of misery, and troubled nights have been allotted to me. If in bed I say, 'When shall I arise?' then the night drags on. I am filled with restlessness until the dawn. My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle. They come to an end without hope. Remember that my life is like the wind. I shall not see happiness again." The word of the Lord.
Our first reading for this Sunday, which happens to be Pro-Life Sunday, comes from the book of Job. Now, listening to Job, I begin to wonder how many people right now, even as we speak, how many of them can resonate with Job? How many of them could take the words of Job and say, "Hey Job, thank you. You're expressing our experience of life." But it is not an encouraging experience of life. And that's why we want to confront this. It is part of the experience of Job, a holy man who was afflicted with so much suffering. Yet we know the ending of his story. He was humble, he continued trusting in God, and at the end of his life, which was a bit tortuous, he was greatly blessed because he remained faithful to God. But in this portion of the book of Job, we find him describing life as a drudgery. Oh, it is a life of distasteful work. He compares life to that of being a slave, a hired person. You labor and you just wait for your pay. And is that the meaning of life? And even if you get paid, what does it contribute to you? Your nights are still restless. You are like a person going to bed asking, "When will the sun rise? When will I arise? Will I ever wake up to see another morning?" And so even the nights that are supposed to be devoted to rest are spent in restlessness, the lack of rest. And then he says, your life passes so quickly, so swiftly, that you are laboring in pain and sorrow, and then you are restless, and before you know it, this life is over. And how many people, according to Job, end their lives without any hope, without any sense that their existence here on earth had a meaning, had a direction. I say, maybe many people facing tribulations in life can say with Job, yes, life is a heavy burden. Life is a never-ending restlessness. But it is to people like Job that God listens. He listens to them. And if they cling to the life-giving word at a proper time, at God's time, they discover what true life means. My dear brothers and sisters, especially those of you who experienced life the way Job did, please do not fall into despair. In prayer, you may voice to God your concerns, your lament. That is part of prayer. That is part of the prayer of Job. But he prayed. He did not cut off his relationship with God. The more life became heavy, the more he prayed. The more life was filled with trials, the more he held on to God. And God, at the proper time, blessed him tremendously. And the greatest blessing of all was the compassion, the mercy, the fidelity of God to Job. Please do not despair when life becomes distasteful. Know that at those moments, the Lord is your compassionate God and your compassionate friend. I know that some people decide to kill themselves, to end their lives, because they say life, after all, has no meaning. And the sad reality too, some people have decided to destroy the lives of the unborn. And some of them justify it by saying, we don't want these innocent children to experience the pains of life. So while they are not yet born, let us terminate their lives. No, you are missing the point. The first reading is a great challenge to us, and I'm asking you to wait for the next two readings. What is life all about? And what is God's stance to life? And how will God deal with people who find life a heavy burden? We will find the response in the next two readings.